දසනකාන්තී චූර්ණය සහිත ලීවර් ආයුෂ් දන්තාලේපය දත්වල ඇති ප්‍රශ්න 10ක් වලකයි.
Sri Lanka's national report under the fourth cycle of the Universal Periodic Review was presented to the UN Working Group on UPR by Sri Lanka's permanent representative in Geneva, Himali Arunatilaka, during the 42nd session of the Universal Periodic Review at the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva today. Following the presentation of the report, Sri Lankan Minister of Foreign Affairs President's Council Ali Sabry addressed the session virtually from Colombo. The interactive dialogue on Sri Lanka's national report under the fourth cycle of the Universal Periodic Review began following the statement of Sri Lankan Minister of Foreign Affairs.
We envisage 2023, the 75th anniversary of our independence, to be a year of socio-economic stabilization, reconciliation and recovery. We will use this opportunity as a catalyst for realistic assessment of our challenges. We are determined to strengthen the ethnic harmony and to set a stable foundation for sound economic management, recovery and future growth. We invite all Sri Lankans, including overseas Sri Lankans, to join us in this endeavour. At this historic juncture, tangible steps are taken in the interest of national unity and reconciliation among the people. In this context, a wide range of policy measures have been identified to be addressed expeditiously, including the establishment of a truth-seeking mechanism and a social justice commission. A new national security legislation replacing the PTA is at an advanced stage of being finalized. In order to engage in a mutually beneficial manner with Sri Lankan overseas in the national interest, an overseas Sri Lankan office is being established. A rapid development plan for the North and the East is being formulated to uplift the standard of living of the people in these areas as well as to improve economic growth. The President has called for the full implementation of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. In order to ensure that these processes progress effectively, a Cabinet Subcommittee on Reconciliation has been appointed by the President.
We wish to recommend that Sri Lanka, 1, engages with all stakeholders in a participatory process to advance the country's ongoing process of reconciliation, and 2, strengthens measures to protect economic and social rights of all without discrimination, including social protection for vulnerable groups.
We are pleased to observe that Sri Lanka amended the Prevention of Terrorism Act and held an all-party conference to revive reconciliation process. While fully recognizing the economic and social challenges that Sri Lanka has been going through, Turkey recommends Sri Lanka to 1. Continue human rights education and capacity building programs to ensure strengthening investigative skills of prosecutors and police officers. 2. Effectively implement the cabinet-approved national policy on reconciliation and coexistence in Sri Lanka.
We appreciate their commitment to work with the international human rights mechanisms in order to promote the human rights system and its mechanisms at the national level. We also commend the steps they took to advance the path of national reconciliation.
We welcome Sri Lanka's commitments on respect for the rights of those from all religious and ethnic groups. Its recent efforts to foster political inclusion and constitutional reform are particularly welcome. We recommend that Sri Lanka allow all its communities freely to commemorate and memorialise victims of the Civil War, to repeal sections 365 and 365A of the Penal Code and end criminalisation of same-sex conduct.
We recognize steps taken in recent months to improve economic transparency and governance. However, we are concerned by reports of abuses by members of the security forces, the use of anti-terror legislation to detain human rights defenders, and the rise in corruption. We recommend that Sri Lanka, 1, replace the Prevention of Terrorism Act, cease arbitrary detentions for freedom of expression, and ensure legislation is aligned with international human rights standards. 2, ensure the rights of LGBTQI+ persons are respected, and take steps to end discrimination and harassment of the LGBTQI+ community, including by amending the Penal Code to decriminalize same-sex relations.
Canada recommends that Sri Lanka repeal the Prevention of Terrorism Act and ensure that any replacement legislation is compliant with Sri Lanka's international human rights obligations. Decriminalize same-sex relations by repealing sections 365 and 365A of the Penal Code. Promptly conduct independent and impartial investigations and prosecutions in all cases of human rights violations, including those perpetrated by law enforcement and military,